series, Expert Connections. We are in our third week now of offering these live Q&A sessions because there are so many changes and challenges because of the coronavirus that we really need community now more than ever. I'm Julie Holton. I'm the founder and principal strategist of Connexions Marketing Agency. I am grateful to have you here and so honored to be able to share these stories with you. If you missed it, this morning we had a round table of experts from our own team at Connexions to talk about marketing. Just an hour ago, we talked with Vicki Hamilton Allen. She's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Capital Region. She gave some beautiful advice about servant leadership and leading through these uncertain times, leading with strength and with heart. And now I'd like to welcome Amy Jackson of Coldwell Banker. Amy, thank you so much for taking time to join me today.
Thank you, Julie. I have been watching the series since you started it a few weeks ago, and I just want to tell you thank you for doing this. It's really been helpful for our community and for entrepreneurs. It's a lot of value, so I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you, Amy, so much. So Amy is a realtor with Coldwell Banker. She has a website, 517realestate.com. She is my go-to expert when it comes to the housing industry. And Amy, I know there have been a lot of changes for a lot of industries, of course. And with these changes, we see challenges and opportunities. And so I'd really like to talk first about some of the specific changes for the housing market and for realtors. The governor's Stay Safe, Stay Home order has meant a lot of changes for you personally and for all of your colleagues. So tell me, what does this mean for the real estate market?
Well, yeah, for most of us, home is really important, right? Which is why we get into this industry, and we want to keep our clients home safe, keep ourselves and our families safe. So when the governor did issue that, we are now not labeled as critical workers, so we're just not able to go and show homes. But I'll tell you, Julie, just like you're doing this virtual chat, there's so many creative ways that us realtors are able to connect with our clients to show them properties, to get them safely through a contract and have different creative ways to word it. So if a client does love a house now, that we can maybe make that offer contingent on them seeing it, in a few weeks when hopefully this is lifted. So there are creative ways of working through it. I always say with realtors, we're really people and problem solvers. And so this is our opportunity to shine and to show that we can overcome some of these obstacles. But there's lots of good news too. Like you and I were talking about, the good news is, now inspectors are labeled as critical workers. So those that are currently in the middle of a transaction are now able to get that home inspected. So that way they can continue on this process and not have to wait weeks for that to start going. So that was really good news that happened.
And that was a big move that just came yesterday here in Michigan. We should specify that we're talking, because some of these, these orders state to state depend on what various governors and government agencies are doing. So yesterday, the governor, Amy, you were telling me had signed the next executive order that allows or deems, I guess, inspectors to be called essential workers. So they're now able to go in. And I imagine that without an inspection, that would have really slowed the process down. And we all know what that's like when you're in the home buying process and you're waiting for that inspection. That's a really critical stage.
It really is. And I always say that's really when our first sign of relief is once that inspection's done, because everything on that offer is now contingent on the inspection going through. So being able to have our clients have that peace of mind to know the condition of the property, any changes that may be necessary or additional negotiations can just be all out of the way. That way everybody can just be moving through with the paperwork side and, the side of just packing up boxes and starting to do that process independently. So that was really good news. I have to say our local association of realtors has done an amazing job keeping us all informed and, making sure it's very clear, because just like with any other industry, there's good news and bad news, and there's not a lot of clarity. So I'm really grateful that we've had a really good clarity on what that means for us to keep everybody safe.
Okay, so I see a comment already, Amy, and I'm going to jump right in on this because Melissa Goodson has said that she's, so first, Stephanie had said, hi ladies, I'm so interested in hearing about the real estate market right now. Melissa has jumped on that and said, me too. My house was supposed to go on the market April 1st. And I imagine, Melissa, you are not alone. We saw a really booming housing scene last year, Amy, with a lot of movement on the housing market. And I know a lot of people that I know personally were really looking forward to the spring market. So Melissa's not alone. How are things looking for this spring market?
Well, I think there's going to be changes, but I think we're also seeing that we all want home, right? We're at our homes, we're seeing what we like, what we don't like, that we still want plans to move. That's not going to change. Our community's heart for home is just not going to change. Anything I think is resonating so much more in people. And of course, we still want, financial security. Real estate has long been said to be one of the strongest investments that we can make. And so, there's definitely going to be great opportunities for buyers and sellers. It's just a unique way of going about it. So if we have to pause a couple weeks, that's really to the benefit of everyone. Or there's still ways that we can get houses on the market now, and the realtor can walk them through the creative ways that we are doing that to still keep it moving. And people are still buying right now. People are still selling right now. It is still very much happening. So I think it's staying encouraged that it can still happen. It's just your own comfort level. If you want to pursue forward, then, walking through how we can creatively do that. Or if you want to pause for a little while, what we can do in the meantime to get it ready for you.
Absolutely. And Amy, I know you were, I keep a close eye on your real estate page because I'm one of those people that I love to tour houses even when I'm not in the buying or selling mode.
Yep.
And I know you've had several closings even in the last few weeks, which I've been really impressed to see. And also, I'm sure, I have a friend who just closed on a house last week, and I know she was so grateful that the process was able to move forward because, let's face it, home is where the heart is. And there's so much that we have tied into emotionally and of course, physically with the security and comfort of home and the stability of the roof over our head. That I know for her, it was a really important thing to be able to move forward in that process. So are you seeing, so I want to talk again a little bit deeper about some of these changes. So you mentioned already the home inspectors. So that was a really big deal to be able to help keep this process flowing. What about appraisals? What are appraisals able to be done right now? What does that situation look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So appraisals are still going through. There's, again, just creative ways for having to work around it, whether that be a desktop appraisal that some lenders are doing, which means the appraiser can look at those photos, the area comps, and do all of the work that they already generally do, just kind of safely in their office. And then there's drive-bys, allowing them to drive by it. This is going to be determined on the buyer's lender and your mortgage insurance approving it. But when the news first came out last week, I will tell you, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, immediately put out notices to be able to creatively work through it to make sure it's still a secure investment for everybody. So the appraisers are still out working, which is great. Now the inspectors are back working, and our title companies, I've been saying even an email this morning, they are MVPs right now. The title companies are critical workers. They're doing an amazing job. This is what they do every day, is get people safely to the closing table to make sure it's really smooth. And they've just done a really good job of allowing people to drive up if they don't want to get out of their cars. Maybe the kids are there and they don't want to come in. We don't want any extra additional people in the closing table. So they can drive up. They've been coming to their window with a sanitized clipboard and a pen, all the documents with a notary right there. We do have mobile notaries who are still going to people's homes or meeting them somewhere if they felt more comfortable with just a one-on-one interaction. And they're sanitizing. Everyone gets a free pen with the purchase of a house. But just
right, because we want to give back.
Whatever we can do. Take what you got when you came in. But just really thinking of ways to keep everybody safe, and that same heart for home really carries with almost everybody in our industry of really trying to make sure that it's smooth for everybody. So it's been a great sense of teamwork. I think with a rather independent industry, it's been a beautiful sense of teamwork that we're seeing.
Amy, what are some things that people can be doing right now that if they're, we kind of have this pause period, maybe people are kind of, for those who maybe are hesitant to keep moving forward and are in this pause, want to take a pause. I imagine, I know you can't see what I'm seeing, and that's probably a good thing, but I'm looking at my house and I'm thinking, okay, there are some projects I could do. There's some painting that could be done. What are some things that you recommend for people who might have some time now and are spending an awful lot of time at home? What are some things that we can be doing that would maybe prep the houses for market?
Well, first, I've been to your home and it's beautiful. So I don't know what projects you have to do, but I understand.
You haven't seen quarantine mode.
I know. We're all nesting, which is great. I always like to talk, you and I were talking before this started. I always like to talk to, my friends or my clients before they even start their project list, because there's some things as homeowners that just have been on our laundry list for a long, long time, and we've never got to it. So it's more of kind of an irk for us to want to tackle that to-do project. And it may not be really a value for the buying or selling process. So I always like to talk that through to say, is this worth your time? What's something else that we could do, or how we could go about doing it that would make sure it's going to be the best source of time and investment if they're purchasing anything. So I always like to do that first.
Yeah, let me ask that then, because if you're in a situation, we recognize, first of all, that that there are a lot of people that are not in a situation to be spending money right now. Totally understand that. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we certainly do not want to make light of that whatsoever. However, some experts that we've had on have said, if you are in a position where you're able to keep spending with the economy, of course, making very thoughtful, purposeful decisions. But if you know selling your home is something that you want to do, then what are some of the best ways then to be spending, whether you're spending cash or just putting in some sweat equity? Where do we want to focus, Amy?
Well, always, always, always buy local. So if any of your local hardware shops or any of your local stores are open or they allow pickup, please support them. A lot of them will have flowers. Flower shops are doing unique things. Being able to reach out to them local and use what's at home. We started projects in our house, and I used the leftover paint from the painters and started, painting the trim in our guest room. And you can do really things that you probably already have at home. It's just thinking a little bit more creatively. So freshening up paint is always a big thing. Decluttering. I think every drawer in my house is in progress of being cleaned out. Those are great things, because that is when a house has been organized and well cared for, it really resonates with buyers that it's in a really good condition and it's been cared for. So it helps eliminate any concerns that they might have. So it is doing some of those free things that we can do to start tackling cleaning up the yard. Some of the things we might rush and do on one weekend, now maybe we can take a few days to really deep clean and just kind of organize and just balance everything out a little bit.
What great advice. I love that. Especially the decluttering. I think that needs to be that could be a whole quarantine long project for me over here. So, all those closets, all the spring cleaning we normally do, I think overdrive, right?
Oh my gosh. And just like all the things I've realized that I've like tuckered into the basement, into little corners, and my husband's like slowly pulling out. And I'm like, wait, okay, we got to figure out what to do with some of these things. So it is a good time to do that. It's a great time, to figure out what you want to give away. And, the whole goal is to be moving anyways. So if you're already in the process of thinking that you're going to move, it's thinking about your next home. What is it that you want to take with you? What is it that you don't? And doing some projects that make you happy. I had a client who didn't plan on moving for a couple years, and she was asking me whether she thinks I should do certain things. And some things I did. Painting is always great to keep a fresh, neutral, and touch up any paint, especially trim work and around windows. But, different things that she wanted to do. I'm like, well, if you're going to be here for a couple of years and it makes you happy, go for it. Just go for it. There's never a wrong investment to invest in yourself and making you happy.
I love that. Great advice. Okay, so Beth, you have a fan here. Beth says, I'm lucky enough to have had Amy sell my home. It was a fabulous experience. I love that, Beth. Okay, so Amy, you and I were also talking. I could talk decoration all day with you, because clearly look behind you, like beautiful decorating. And Amy does have a Facebook group. We're going to share that with you for those who are looking for tips and advice and maybe some design advice. I was talking to Amy. I'm going to post some pictures later and maybe have people weigh in, help me figure out what to do with one of the walls in my house. Obviously not critical conversation topics for this side. So Amy, I want to bring it back to the housing market, because I know last year we had, in the greater Lansing area, we had a really big boom. We had, and you know better than I do, just what a boom we had last year as far as, the buying and selling. I do know that we were really looking forward to a big spring boom this year. What does that look like now with this pandemic and with all of these changes? I'm sure there's going to be some sort of slowdown in there somewhere, but what are you anticipating as far as, are people still looking to buy and sell?
They are. Home is still very important. I think that's kind of been the song of our conversation today, is that home is still so important to each and every one of us. So still moving and in moving your family to a community that you want, the neighborhood you want. You're also seeing what you value. We live close to a park. Gosh, I've never knew how much I was going to love that until now. Even though if we're not playing on the equipment, we're walking and we're doing things, being close to stores. Maybe you want to be close to the highway because of your commute. You're really seeing now what you want in a home. Maybe you want a bigger pantry. There's so many things that we are seeing now that we're wanting from our home. And so that's just not going to change. Now, how interest rates go and how some of those financial things go, there's definitely going to be changes, as there always going to be. But interest rates are still exceptionally well. And, people are still wanting to move. And so we're still people who are wanting to move. And our market's still strong. So for those that were considering selling, you still have, how we do our pricing, our market analysis is in the past several months of sales that have happened in a similar style and location to the homeowner's house. So you still have all these wonderful price comps to use to be able to see your home value. And, there's going to be different changes in that, I'm sure, as we evolve, but people still want home, and I just don't see that changing. A lender had shared something really nice with me last week, that even when there's global crisis doesn't mean that there's a housing market crisis. And sometimes we kind of lump every crisis in together. There's definitely changes. There's definitely things we have to do to work around it, but it doesn't mean this both in the same word.
Absolutely. What a great point to really, keep that in mind. I know everyone is feeling it right now. Amy, you and I have had private conversations, personally, professionally, and it just all melds into one, because at the end of the day, we're all humans,
Yep.
whether we're in our personal lives or our professional lives. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to really talk through this and help us to see what this market is looking like. How can people reach you if they have questions or want to connect with you to maybe get some more information about some things that we've talked about, or maybe some things that we haven't talked about? What's the best way to reach you?
Well, you can reach me on my website, 517realestate.com. Facebook, of course, Amy Jackson, 517realestate.com. I'm sure I'm on Instagram and all of those too for all the hip, cool cats, or you can just always give me a call too. So.
Awesome, Amy. Thank you so much. Thank you again for taking the time today and talking through some of these issues for us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Julie. I can't wait to tackle how we're going to decorate the living room.
I know. Oh, and your Facebook group. We'll put the Facebook group in the comments too. And I invite people to join this group. You can weigh in on what the heck I should do with the wall in my living room that I'm tired of staring at.
It's so fun. We're all doing home projects. We all love home. Most of us are all kind of nesting right now. So we might as well get together and give each other a little virtual high five and keep going. But it's definitely to stay encouraged. The housing market, home will continue to be important. So I'm glad we could keep people encouraged today, Julie. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thanks, Amy. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So our series will continue on Thursday. We're taking a break tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday. We have 3 live interviews for you on Thursday, back to back, again, just like today. So look on our events page. If you go right now, click on the events tab, you can see those 3 live interviews that are scheduled, RSVP for them, and then we'll see you back here starting at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Thank you, everyone.